Blue and red lights flashed across my windshield, and there she was. Karen standing in the middle of the street waving at the police like she owned the whole damn neighborhood. My crime parking in front of my own house. But here's the twist: by the end of the night, she was the one holding a fine, not me. Act 1. The conflict begins. I'm Evan, and I live with my wife Lily and our old dog Max in a quiet lakeside neighborhood called Lake Willow. We bought this place because it felt calm, almost peaceful, the kind of spot where you imagine growing old watching ducks skim across the water. But every paradise has a serpent, and ours was Karen. She wasn't technically the HOA president that was Mr. Thompson, but Karen had a title she loved to flash around: chair of the beautification committee. Sounds harmless, right? Except she thought it gave her power to dictate how everyone lived, right down to where we parked our cars. That Saturday started normal enough. We were repainting our living room so the garage was crammed with cans, brushes, drop cloths. I parked my sedan in front of our house. Nothing illegal, nothing blocking. Just simple, obvious, harmless. Not to Karen. I caught her out on the sidewalk with a clipboard and a tape measure, strutting from mailbox to mailbox like she was inspecting troops. She spotted my car, frowned like she'd just found mold in her fridge, and marched up to my door. Bang, bang, bang. You need to move that car, she snapped the second I opened. We're aligning curb parking for a cleaner view. Starting today, all residents must park near Birch Circle. I blinked. Excuse me, Birch Circle is 3 houses down. Why would I park there when this is my house? She clicked her pen like it was a weapon. Because tidy curb lines increase property value. It's common sense. I laughed, but not in a funny way. Did the board vote on this? Her lips curled. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you now. Well, I'm not moving it, I said, heat rising in my cheeks. The rules say I can park here. And then she leaned close, her lipstick too sharp under the afternoon sun. If you don't move it, I'll call the cops. I'm done asking nicely. At first I thought she was bluffing. Who calls the police over a legally parked car? But 10 minutes later, sirens flickered down the street. That's when my stomach dropped. Act 2. Escalation and doubt. The officer stepped out, calm but wary, flashlight in hand, though the sun was still up. Karen ran to him, waving papers. Officer Tao, his car now. He's ruining the aesthetic line. I almost laughed again, but my voice shook when I said, it's parked in front of my own home. I'm not blocking anyone. She shoved a homemade map in the officer's face. Look, this shows the designated parking zones. The officer glanced at it, then at the street. Ma'am, this isn't an official rule. Just then, the HOA SUV rolled up. Mr. Thompson in his blazer, Ms. Rivera with her compliance binder. For a second, relief washed over me. Surely they'd shut this down. Rivera flipped through the bylaws, reading aloud for the whole crowd that was now gathering, neighbors peeking through curtains, stepping onto porches with their kids and dogs and bowls of salad. Residents may park in front of their own property as long as they aren't blocking hydrants, driveways, or mailboxes. I felt Lily squeeze my hand. For a second I thought this nightmare was over. But Karen wasn't finished. She stomped forward, shouting, then fine them both. Fine him for parking ugly, and fine the HOA for letting this street turn into chaos. Her face flushed, arms waving, voice so loud even the ducks on the lake stopped gliding. That's when headlights cut across us, big yellow spinning. A tow truck rumbled right onto our street. The driver leaned out, confused. Got a request to tow a gray sedan. Also got a report to file about a broken entrance sign. Both under the name Karen Pierce. Which one of you is Karen? The entire street turned as one. Karen's face went pale, then red. Dispatcher must have messed up, she stammered. Neighbors whispered. Phones started recording. I could feel my heart pounding, but also a sick twist in my gut. Was this really happening? Was my life turning into a circus just because I parked my car? And for a moment, I doubted myself. Standing there with sirens flashing, with Karen screaming, with neighbors staring, I thought maybe I should have just moved the damn car. Maybe I made this worse by standing my ground. Lily leaned in, whispering, no, you did nothing wrong. Don't let her break you. And that was my turning point. I wasn't going to let Karen bully us anymore. Rivera lifted her binder again. Calling the police for non-emergencies, misusing city services, and harassing neighbors are violations under HOA conduct. Karen, you're receiving a citation. The officer nodded, arms crossed. The tow truck driver shrugged and left. Karen's jaw clenched as Rivera handed her the pink slip. $150 fine for misuse and harassment. You'll regret this, Karen hissed, eyes boring into me. All of you will. She stormed off, paper crumpled in her fist. I should have felt victory, but instead I felt something colder. This wasn't over. Act 3. The climax. The next morning proved me right. I stepped outside to find my car scratched, big chalky letters gouged into the paint, "Move now." My stomach sank. My hands shook not from fear but from the realization this was war. That evening we gathered at the clubhouse for a behavioral review hearing. Karen had appealed her fine and filed her own complaint against me for creating a hostile environment. The irony almost made me laugh. Almost. Inside, the tension was thick. Neighbors filled the folding chairs. Thompson tried to keep it calm, calling it a friendly hearing. Karen spoke first, voice tight. I care about this neighborhood more than anyone. If I push too hard, it's because no one listens otherwise. Then it was my turn. I stood, my voice steadier than I expected. I want a clean street too, but I also want to live without being threatened because I didn't follow one person's personal idea of order. Last night was terrifying for me, my wife, and everyone who had to watch. The room hummed. Ms. Lee, our elderly neighbor, murmured, "Hear, hear," and a ripple of chuckles broke the tension. But the relief didn't last. The door banged open and Karen's teenage son Tyler rushed in, pale and shaking. "Mom, it's the gate camera. The video's on the neighborhood app. It shows your SUV hitting the entrance sign and driving off." Gasps shot through the room. Karen stammered, "That's not me. Anyone could drive a silver SUV." Tyler's voice cracked. "It has your beautification bumper sticker. I was in the passenger seat. You told me not to say anything." The air turned electric. Phones buzzed with notifications, neighbors already commenting on the footage. Words like liar, fine, cover-up. Karen's face twisted, then hardened. "I was protecting this community," she yelled. "That sign was old. It was leaning anyway." But Thompson's voice cut through like steel. "Covering up damage, blaming others, calling the police on neighbors, that's not protection. That's abuse." Karen's hands shook. The citation paper she clutched fluttered to the floor. For a moment she looked small, cornered, exposed. Rivera spoke firmly. "The citation stands. The video will be reviewed formally. But for tonight, Karen, you are fined. Not Evan, not his family. You." The room was dead silent. Even the lake outside seemed to pause. Karen slumped back into her chair, pale as chalk. And just like that, the woman who thought she could order me around, who dragged cops into our quiet street, who tried to humiliate me in front of my neighbors, was the one branded guilty. Closing line. And that's the lesson: order without kindness isn't community, it's control.